Hello there, I'll be presenting about my proposal, which is to improve the hand hygiene of Rutgers students. Generally, Americans were found to have poor hand hygiene habits, where most of them do not actually wash their hands when they're required to. So I conducted a survey to check if Rutgers students are part of this unhealthy trend. So for this survey, 50 Rutgers students were selected at random, and they were asked about their frequency of hand washing, perception of the hand washing habits of others, and the reasons for poor hand washing habits. So based on this graph, we found that most students actually do not always wash their hands under the following circumstances: before eating, after using the computer, and after sneezing and coughing, although most of them claim that they will always wash their hands after using the washroom. An alarming fact from that survey as well is that most students claim that the people around them do not always wash their hands when required. And of course, we have to take note that students might actually be untruthful when answering the survey. This has been proven by other studies. We have also asked the students about the causes of poor hand hygiene, and basically the opinions are split among all of them, but we have identified several key factors. The first factor is a lack of awareness, where students are unaware about the problems related to hand hygiene. This can be caused by lack of education about hand hygiene. The second main factor is lack of facilities and time. In Rutgers, the only hand washing facility is the washroom, and they do not have other options. And this is a bad thing because college students frequently have to rush for classes, and proper hand washing with soap takes about 1 minute, and long lines are sometimes formed from the washroom, so it's kind of troublesome to wash hands itself. So, what are the consequences of poor hand hygiene? Poor hand hygiene causes exposure to diseases. It allows dangerous microbial life to grow and get transmitted on our hands. And these pathogens and viruses can infect a person through the respiratory system or the gastrointestinal system. Poor hand hygiene causes illnesses to spread, and because of that, a poor hand hygiene practice of an individual can affect the entire community. Also, poor hand hygiene causes outbreaks in serious cases, and especially in a college setting, students live in close proximity and are frequently exposed to crowds. So because of that, this problem is exacerbated in a college setting. And these can cause negative impact on academic performance due to illnesses. We have found that 22% of students and 8% of students reported that cold, flu, sore throat, and sinus infections, respectively, impacted their academics negatively. I propose that hand hygiene among college students can be improved through a two-pronged approach. First, by exposing students about the importance of hand hygiene, and second, by providing students with convenient hand hygiene facilities. I base my proposal on a case study from University of Colorado Boulder, which studied 4 campus residence hall. They tried to determine the effectiveness of hand hygiene campaigns in improving hand hygiene among college students, and they also studied about the correlationship between hand hygiene and work absenteeism. This study used a two-pronged approach by using a hand hygiene campaign and to provide students with hand sanitizers. So a pre-test and a post-test survey revealed that students exposed to health campaigns had better awareness and had a 40% decrease in absenteeism caused by upper respiratory tract illnesses. I propose to have a hand hygiene campaign, and I will model the campaign using Rogers' innovation diffusion theory. So this theory tells about how an idea is being accepted by people. Using Rogers' innovation and diffusion theory, a campaign passes knowledge about the importance of hand hygiene, and a campaign helps students to form a positive attitude about hand hygiene. We will do so by using positive messages, where we help students to form a positive attitude about hand hygiene, and we will avoid using scare tactics because it will cause a warning fatigue. Over here, I have 2 examples of a poster for hand hygiene. The one on the left is one that is more favorable because it has a more positive kind of message, whereas the one on the right seems to be threatening that poor hand hygiene can kill someone, which is a form of scare tactic and it won't be as effective. For the campaign, we will use a multi-touch marketing approach because we can reinforce an idea through repetition. My second approach is to provide convenient hand hygiene facilities. So because of that, I propose for the installation of hand sanitizer stations. So alcoholic hand sanitizers are an effective method to kill microorganisms, but the downside is that they do not remove soil and organic compounds. However, this is sufficient to maintain the hand hygiene of the average college students because they are not really exposed to things like soil or organic compounds unless if they work in a lab. Hand sanitizers are also a quick and convenient way to clean the hands because it only takes 3 to 5 seconds to rub the hands and only 30 seconds to kill the microbes. Proper hand washing requires at least 1 minute to perform because we need to rinse the hand, we need to rub the hands with soap, we need to wash off the soap from our hands, and we need to dry our hands. All these takes place at the sink itself, so if during peak hours the washroom will be full, and because of that there will be long queues. So hand sanitizer stations will help to avoid long queues, and because it's so easy to perform, it's so quick to perform, people would prefer to use hand sanitizer stations instead. Hand sanitizer stations are also a good supplement to hand washing. It sanitizes the microbes that are attached to hands due to touching the doorknobs of the washrooms. Because of that, hand sanitizer stations can help to ensure that people will have clean hands even after hand washing. We will measure the effectiveness of this approach through pre and post campaign surveys. The parameters in the surveys include frequency of hand washing, absenteeism from respiratory diseases. We will also check the data at the Health Services Center to check if the rate of absenteeism from respiratory diseases actually decreased over time due to improvement in hand hygiene. We plan for a two-pronged approach, first through a hand hygiene campaign, and second through the installation of hand sanitizer stations. Our campaign is split into two stages. The first stage, which is a test stage, will be held throughout College F campus, and if it is deemed successful through the surveys that we will do at the end of the campaign, we will carry out the second stage, which will be held throughout the whole of New Brunswick campus. Each stage comprises of two phases which spans for 4 weeks each. The first phase aims to diffuse knowledge of hand hygiene among students, and the second phase will reinforce the hand hygiene habit among students. The phase will determine the message during the part of the campaign, where the first phase aims to be more informative in nature and the second phase aims to be more positive and less preaching in nature, but more of a gratitude form of message. A pre-test and post-test will be conducted to determine the effectiveness of stage 1 before deciding to carry out stage 2. And the hand sanitizer stations will be installed at high traffic locations during the first 2 weeks of each stage in the respective campuses. As mentioned, the phase will mainly influence the way the message is written. So in phase 1, the message will be more informative in nature. The message will primarily function to spread knowledge about hand hygiene. So the knowledge that we want to implement in people includes the proper way to wash their hands, the fun facts about hand hygiene, the dangers and importance of the dangers of poor hand hygiene, and the importance and the benefits of hand hygiene. In phase 2, the message will be worded in form of reminders and gratitudes. The messages will ask if the students have cleaned their hands at the times when they are required to do so. They will also thank the students for cleaning their hands and show that the maintaining of hand hygiene is a social norm, that everyone is doing so, why not them? In this slide, I showed the different form of messages that will appear in phase 1 and phase 2, where the one on the left is a message for phase 1, which shows the hand washing steps, and the one on the right is a form of message in phase 2, where the messages basically thank the people for washing their hands. As mentioned, we will be using a multi-touch approach, so we will be mainly using 3 ways of reaching out to people. First, through personal reminders, second, through printed media, and third, through online media. Through personal reminders, we plan to have tablings in campus centers every week, and we also seek for a table in involvement fair so that we can get to people in mass. Secondly would be printed media, where we plan to have posters and doorknob holders at places where hand hygiene is expected. For example, in the washroom, in the dining halls, in computer labs, and in the gymnasiums. And thirdly, for online media, we plan to reach out to people through the social media. We would like to have a Facebook page and a Twitter account, and we would try to maintain an active following through active postings like competitions and interactive videos that are attractive for people to follow. We will also reach out through email listservs of various student organizations. And for the second approach, we aim to install hand sanitizer stations at high traffic locations where hand hygiene is required, especially in the dining halls and in the food courts. So we will have an eye level sign to increase the visibility, and also cashiers will direct the students to the hand sanitizer stations every time after the purchase of food or after swiping the meal swipes. Our budget for stage 1 of the proposal is at $3,070, where 1/3 goes to hand sanitizer stations, another 1/3 goes to printed media, and the rest goes to the student workers. Whereas for stage 2 of the proposal, the grand total will come up to $12,280. In conclusion, poor hand hygiene habits is not merely a personal hygiene issue, but also a social issue because it involves everyone around you. So efforts to combat this issue should be taken immediately. So because of that, I really hope that the Rutgers Health Services will help us to fund for this proposal. With that, I thank you for listening.